Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with an article from Breitbart dated April 3rd, and it is from John Nolte, who I've made my affection for known because he definitely knows what he's talking about in regards to movies. And we're going to see what he has to say here because this says, by 2 to 1, Americans say movies are worse today. And that immediately interested me because I'm like, yeah, I would be one of those two instead of one of the ones. So it says the sycophantic entertainment media will blame anything and everything for Hollywood's ongoing box office collapse. These liars have all kinds of excuses. Streaming, unruly crowds, too much dew on windshields. Hell, to this day, some still blame the particular pandemic that we see here. And now that I said pandemic, I'm probably going to have one of those Wikipedia notes underneath this, but it is what it is. Tried to avoid it. I missed it, but at least I didn't say, this capitalized word right there. Back to the article. It says, what no one dares suggest is quality. Because in any other industry, automobile, restaurant, pizza, toothpaste, plastic surgeon, landscaping, you name it, when fewer and fewer customers show up, the very first thing sane people look at is the quality of the product. Oh, but not in Hollywood. Having the moral courage to question the quality of the naked emperor's clothes is to invite a terrible backlash. No longer will studios advertise on your sycophantic website. No longer will the studios give you, the sycophant, access to the stars, the free screenings, and all that sweet, sweet swag. Yeah, and I mean, you hear, I can't remember who I heard it from the first time, but there is a video out there you can hear of someone that I think is a professional reviewer. It might have been on like Rotten Tomatoes or something, that he said like that basically he doesn't want to lose his access. So that's why he keeps saying the things that he's saying. He doesn't want to give anything a bad grade because of that. So, yeah, there you go. So, let's scroll down here and it says, so no way did Indiana Jones 5 tank because it sucked, because emasculating our hero and having him shamed by a sexless girl boss turned people off. No, it couldn't be that. No, it flopped because the franchise is old and tired and worn out. Yeah, you heard those excuses already. No, because no one asked for an Indiana Jones 5. I mean, if they were going to ask for an Indiana Jones 5, it would have been in like, the 90s. Not, when Harrison Ford is, 80 at the time of that? So, yeah, I mean, no one cared. And so please do forget that plenty of old franchises continue to make money, like, say, Top Gun Maverick, which didn't have our hero emasculated by a sexless girl boss. And Top Gun Maverick is fantastic. I really liked it. Didn't see it in the theater, unfortunately. I saw it at home. I remember I watched the original and then went straight into Top Gun Maverick. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And author is right about that. Because even though nearly 66 million Americans voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016, those red state bigots that killed that Lady Ghostbusters movie. And even though Eddie Murphy, Bill Cosby, Oprah Winfrey, and Michael Jackson were the biggest stars in the world 40 years ago, and 60 million people voted for Barack Obama, those red state racists killed, you get it. You get my point. This is lies, lies, lies. Well, now we have the proof. The data, or the science, that proves that what we already know, that most people are fully aware that movies today suck. So maybe, just perhaps, that has something to do with the drop in customers. In an exclusive to Breitbart News, Rasmussen Reports surveyed 1,231 American adults on March 21st, 24th, and 25th and asked the simple, straightforward question. It says, are movies today better than they were X number of years ago? My answer would have been no to every single time they went back. If that X was replaced with literally any number, I would have said no. The results are devastating for Hollywood and the media sycophants who can no longer invent nonsense excuses for box office failures. And Rob Reiner, who hasn't made a good movie in like 30 years, this is a picture of him, and he looks absolutely awful in there. And his anti-Christian movie, God and Country, completely flops. And the rise of Christian nationalism, it's not actually a thing. He made it up in his head and decided to make a movie about something that's not actually happening, but okay. It says, are movies today better than they were 10 years ago? It says only 22% said yes, while 58% said no. That number is upside down by minus 36 points. It says, what's more, only 33% of the very demographic Hollywood needs to put butts in seats, people aged 18 to 39, said movies are better, while a majority of 53% of young people said no. That's a 20-point deficit in Hollywood's base. Because what I like about the 10-year time frame is that it removes the wispy fog of nostalgia. No one's looking back at 2014 as some sort of golden era. True. Hell, I probably off the top of my head couldn't even name a movie that came out in 2014. So as Rasmussen then asked, are movies today better than they were 20 years ago? It says only 27% said yes, while a majority of 58% said no. That's 31 points underwater. Again, there is no nostalgia at work here. No one is pining away for the halcyon days of 2004. Yeah, I don't know people that are like, I wish movies were like the early 2000s. Would have been like, why? So then Rasmussen asks, are movies today better than they were 50 years ago? Only 37% said yes, while plurality of 43% said no. That's 6 points underwater. God, really, even if we go back, 50 years ago, movies were absolutely better than they are right now. Like, how did that gap close? I figured that would have been wider. That's weird. Okay. Even though that goes into the 70s, and the 70s had its moments, but I mean, if you go back further, it should get wider and wider. If you could say they're better than like 100 years ago, sure. But I mean, the golden age of Hollywood, like 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, even. Like, no, movies were not better today than they were back then. Anyway, it says now we get to my favorite part of the poll. And scrolling down, it says for the better part of a decade, Hollywood films have bent over backward to pander to women and minorities. All this woke crap is supposed to hit the sweet spot of these specific groups. And here's how well that dumb crusade is faring. So it said, are movies better today than they were 10 years ago? Oh, here's the actual polls itself. It says women was at 23% yes, 56% no. Black adults, 27% yes, 51% no. So both of those were underwater. Then the next question was, are movies today better than they were 20 years ago? Women said 28% yes, 52% no. Black adults, 29% yes, 54% no. So again, both well underwater. It says, are movies today better than they were 50 years ago? Women said 35% yes, 43% no. And black adults said 34% yes, 40% no. So that's, again, underwater by a pretty decent amount. It says, looks like women prefer the good old days when the force was not female. It says, this is not difficult. If people believe a product is getting worse, they buy less of it. Over the last 20 years, and especially the last 10 years, we've been increasingly burned by lousy movies that waste our time and money. So sorry, Hollywood, no amount of media gaslighting can make us forget the feeling of being insulted and ripped off. The science says you suck. Yeah, I mean, what do you guys think about this? I mean, answer that question for me. Do you think movies are better than they were 10 years ago, than 20, than 50 years ago? I mean, you already heard my responses. I'd say they're definitely not better today than they were in any of these periods. And certainly, I think the further you go back, at least until the 1930s, you can definitely say no. Before that, you might have an argument for yes. Better made for sure, but not in between the 30s and 60s, I would say. But yeah, let me know what you think about this. I mean, yeah, it's kind of, you think about it, you're like, yeah, movies are not necessarily as good as they were, and they haven't been. But let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I will talk to you soon.